Welcome! Welcome to another video in my NIV Bible reading series. In this video, I'll be reading through Leviticus chapter 25. It's going to be talking about the Sabbath year and property rights and some other things. If I didn't say it already, NIV stands for New International Version. Anyway, let's just get into it. The Lord said to Moses on Mount Sinai, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I am going to give you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath to the Lord. For 6 years sow your fields, and for 6 years prune your vineyards, and gather their crops. But in the 7th year the land is to have a Sabbath of rest, a Sabbath to the Lord. Do not sow your fields or prune your vineyards. Do not reap what grows or do not reap what grows or of itself, or harvest the grapes of your untended vines. The land is to have a year of rest. Whatever the land yields during the Sabbath year will be food for you, for yourself, your servant, your manservant and maidservant, and the hired worker and temporary resident who live among you, as well as for your livestock and the wild animals in your land. Whatever the land produces may be eaten. Count off 7 Sabbaths of years, 7 times 7 years, so that the 7 Sabbaths of years amount to a period of 49 years. Then have the trumpet sounded everywhere on the 10th day of the 7th month. On the Day of Atonement, sound the trumpet throughout your land. Consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you is to return to his family, property, and each to his own clan. The 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. Do not sow and do not reap what grows of itself, or harvest the untended vines. For it is a jubilee, and is to be holy for you. Eat only what is taken directly from the field. In this year of jubilee, everyone is to return to his own property. If you sell land to one of your countrymen, or buy any from him, do not take advantage of each other. You are to buy from your countryman on the basis of the number of years since the jubilee, and he is to sell to you on the basis of the number of years left for harvesting crops. When the years are many, you are to increase the price, and when the years are few, you are to decrease the price, because what he is really selling you is the number of crops. Do not take advantage of each other, but fear your God. I am the Lord your God. Follow my decrees and be careful to obey my laws, and you will live safely in the land. Then the land will yield its fruit, and you will eat your fill and live there in safety. You may ask, what will we eat in the 7th year if we do not plant or harvest our crops? I will send you such a blessing in the 6th year that the land will yield enough for 3 years. While you plant during the 8th year, you will eat from the old crop and will continue to eat from it until the harvest of the 9th year comes in. The land must not be sold permanently, because the land is mine and you are but aliens and my tenants. Throughout the country that you hold as a possession, you must provide for the redemption of the land. If one of your countrymen becomes poor and sells some of his property, his nearest relative is to come and redeem what his countryman has sold. If, however, a man has no one to redeem it for him, but he himself prospers and acquires sufficient means to redeem it, he is to determine the value for the year since he sold it and refund the balance to the man to whom he sold it. He can then go back to his own property, but if he does not acquire the means to repay him, what he sold will remain in the possession of the buyer until the year of Jubilee. It will be returned in the Jubilee, and he can then go back to his property. If a man sells a house in a walled city, he retains the right of redemption a full year after its sale. During that time he may redeem it. If it is not redeemed before a full year has passed, The house in the walled city shall belong permanently to the buyer and his descendants. It is not to be returned in the Jubilee, but houses in villages without walls around them are to be considered as open country. They can be redeemed, and they are to be returned in the Jubilee. The Levites always have the right to redeem their houses in the Levitical town which they possess. So the property of the Levites is redeemable, that is, a house sold in any town they hold, and is to be returned to the Jubilee, because the houses in the towns of the Levites are their property among the Israelites. But the pasture land belonging to their towns must not be sold. It is their permanent possession. If one of your countrymen becomes poor and is unable to support himself among you, help him as you would an alien or a temporary resident. Take interest of any kind from him, and do not take interest of any kind from him, but fear your God, so that your countrymen may continue to live among you. You must not lend him money at interest or sell him food at a profit. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. If one of your countrymen becomes poor among you and sells himself to you, do not make him work as a slave. He is to be treated as a hired worker or a temporary resident among you. He is to work for you until the year of Jubilee. Then he and his children are to be released, and he will go back to his own clan and to the property of his forefathers, because the Israelites are my servants, whom I brought out of Egypt. They must not be sold as slaves. Do not rule over them ruthlessly, but fear your God. Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you and members of their clans born in your country, and they will become your property. You can will them to your children as inherited property, and can make them slaves for life. But you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. If an alien or a temporary resident among you becomes rich, and one of your countrymen becomes poor and sells himself to the alien living among you, or to a member of the alien's clan, he retains the right of redemption after he has sold himself. One of his relatives may redeem him. An uncle or a cousin or any blood relative in his clan may redeem him, or if he prospers, he may redeem himself. He and his buyer are to count the time from the year he sold himself up to the year of Jubilee. The price for his release is to be based on the rate paid to a hired man for that number of years. If many years remain, he must pay for his redemption a larger share of the price paid for him. If only a few years remain until the year of Jubilee, he is to compute that and pay for his redemption accordingly. He is to be treated as a man hired from year to year. You must see to it that his owner does not rule over him ruthlessly. Even if he is not redeemed in any of these ways, he and his children are to be released in the year of Jubilee. For the Israelites belong to me as servants. They are my servants, whom I brought out of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Now, I know that this is a hot topic. It's probably a hot topic. God condones slavery, but you got to understand when this book is written. God, just don't stop at the slavery thing. God commands that slaves be treated properly, and this is in a time you have to think about that. For most of human history, slavery was common. It wasn't just something that America started. If you're in America, you know what I'm talking about. Stuff like that. The whole idea of 1619 and America is so bad because of slavery and all this stuff. And nothing good matters. Ever matter. It's all about slavery and stuff like that. And, slavery has been common. Slavery, death, slaughter, same thing. Fight over through the fighting of territory or other petty bickerings. That has been happening throughout history. man is not some good. Man is not born good. Man is not some righteous being that has a natural call for good. We are naturally sinful. We are fallen. We cannot do good. And the fact that like the Bible is so ahead of its time because God is outside of time, as far as I know. I don't know if that's just a theory, but here's the thing. God knows everything that's going to happen, and has plans for everything and stuff like that. He knows what's going to happen. Everything has to be conformed to His will and stuff like that. The book, us humans don't. So the book had to be written, back then. For most of the time, for most of human creation, I can at least say ever since the fall of Adam, which really screwed things up, man. The fall of Adam. Slavery is slavery is a common thing, or what? It's just still common today. As I record this in 2022, maybe not in America, United States of America. If you're watching, I don't know, but way back then, slavery was just a common thing. Even all the way to the 1800s and stuff, we had the slavery in America and all that stuff. And the country was divided over slavery and stuff like that. The idea, slaves were property. You could treat slaves however you want. Slaves were not people. I'm pretty sure that's like a popular belief. That was like a popular belief. It's stuff like that. Slave in the Bible. It calls for slaves to be treated humanely, and that's way ahead of its time. So, I imagine people would be like, "Oh yeah, the Bible condones slavery," but they don't know the historical context. They know nothing about the history of slavery. They know nothing about the fall of man. And that all these atrocities of mistreatment of slaves and bond servants and just how wicked man is. If man wasn't wicked, God wouldn't have to enact these laws. God wouldn't have to say to treat slaves appropriately, and stuff like that. Treat them fairly. So just that whole thing to dismiss the Bible or judge God based on because he didn't say, "Oh, you shouldn't have slaves," or stuff like that. He didn't specifically say, "Oh yeah, you shouldn't have slaves," and stuff like that. That's just it's such a wrong way of thinking about it. Of course, slavery is wrong, yes, but God had to speak. This book is supposed to apply to for long term. You know what I'm saying? Back then, he had to address this because slavery was a big deal. It is now. Like I said, slavery is a big thing right now. Just because it doesn't exist in like America or UK or in like the West, in the Western first world countries, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist elsewhere. And stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted to address that topic. I probably didn't do it too well because my speech, I'll be honest, my speech ain't too good. I rumble on, I guess, Babylon, Tower of Babel, Babylon took over Judah. That was a bad day. But I don't know what I was saying. But anyway, yeah. Now I guess I don't need. I really don't need that. I guess I could say. I want to clear up. You have the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament, you had you have the Mosaic covenant, and then you have the New Testament with Christ coming, and that established a new covenant. And the old covenant was the Mosaic covenant, where you have all the laws that Moses received on the mountain in the tabernacle while talking to God, and stuff like that. And we have the burnt offering system, the sacrificial system, the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, stuff like that. The ceremonial law, civil law, moral law. The only thing that stands in the New Testament time, as far as I know, is the moral law. So these sacrificial systems, you don't follow those, because the sacrifice animals in the modern times would only be saying that Jesus Christ's sacrifice was not enough, because Jesus Christ's sacrifice, Jesus Christ, who was perfect, who was and is perfect, sacrificed himself for our sins, so that by doing that, we don't have to have the sacrificial system, and then the tabernacle or temple or something like that, to talk to God, because Jesus Christ is a mediator. Jesus Christ is 100% man, 100% God. So, yeah, I can clear that up real quick for those that are learning. Okay, so I think that's all I gotta really say. Reward for obedience. Okay. Chapter 26 is going to talk about rewards and punishment. Basically, it's going to talk about rewards for obedience and punishment for disobedience. And after that, we get to Numbers, which is bad. I just started Numbers in the track reading program. I mean, I'm already through. I'm in Joshua right now, I think. No, Judges. In the New King James track reading program. I'm thinking about taking a break and going and doing the New Testament, but I feel like everyone else has kind of like covered the New Testament, so I feel like the Old Testament is something that hasn't really been read through completely yet, probably audibly or whatever. Maybe it probably is. It's probably like not mainstream and stuff like that. So I definitely want to get through the Old Testament. It's going to take forever because I'm only in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. I'm in the third book. Yeah. I still got Isaiah has 66 chapters. I've been reading Isaiah as on one of my other track reading programs. And Isaiah is going to take a long time. Isaiah has 66 chapters. I think it's 60, at least 66. So that's going to take a long time. Isaiah. That's some interesting stuff in Isaiah. There's so much I just don't even know. Kings, 2 Kings, Psalms. Oh, look at how many Psalms there are. But anyway, that's cool though. That's cool. Ain't trying to complain. But yeah, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, if you're interested in reading, in getting a track, if you're struggling to read the Bible, I urge you to check out the Student Bible NIV version by Zondervan Publishing. Yeah, by Zondervan Publishing. They have it'll say somewhere in there, notes by Philip Yancey and Tim Stafford. It's great because it has a track reading program that is really good. I'm gonna create a YouTube short about this. I'm gonna create a YouTube short about the track reading program. Because in my New King James version, what I don't like is that it's just a 52-week Bible reading program where it takes you from the beginning to end. This Bible has a more the one by Zondervan has a it's more sophisticated. Let's say that it has a 3-track reading program. It has track 1, track 2, track 3, and you start track 1, and each track with each track, it consecutively gets longer. And there's also additional track reading programs. The track 1 reading program, the main thing they have is track 1. They have track 1, 3 2-week sessions of the Bible. You have track 1. You have 2 weeks on the life and teachings of Jesus, which Jesus is the most important thing. 2 weeks on the life and teachings of Paul. 2 weeks on the Old Testament. Because the Old Testament, you can't have the New Testament without the Old Testament. And stuff like that. And then 2 weeks on the life and teachings of Paul. Paul is a key figure in the early church that after Jesus' death. So he's definitely important. I like how they did that. And of course, for Jesus, I don't need to explain. I guess Jesus is the main man. Christianity, Jesus Christ. He's the figure. That pretty much the whole religion. The religion is named after the coming of Christ. Christ coming was a big thing. That's what separates it, and stuff like that. The Jesus Christ coming, stuff like that. It's not separated, but it ties in. Christianity, Jesus Christ. That's what the whole New Testament is about. Is pretty much the 4 Gospels of Jesus Christ and spreading His word after that, and the Old Testament has what led up to the Jesus, all the events that led up, that explains the reading of creation and stuff like that, and all the events that lead up to the New Testament, to the coming of Jesus Christ, and stuff like that. So the Old Testament and New Testament are very much connected. You can't have one without the other. If you only have the New Testament, it's incomplete. The Bible's incomplete. Like, where's the rest of it? And then if you have the New Testament, you're like, if you just have the New Testament, you're like, well, okay, what happened before? Who is this? Who is this God fellow? You know what I'm saying? Who is this Father that Jesus talks about? Yeah, all right, I'm gonna end it there.